So retirement plan contributions, charitable contributions, other than a QCD. Well, actually, QCD has to be done by the end of the year. That's not on here, Mark. QCD has to be done by the end of the year. And any charitable contribution has to be done by the end of the year. So you've got to get that done by the end of the year. So whether it's through traditional methods, you just write a check from your checkbook and you send it to your favorite charity, or you use the qualified charitable distribution. You're over 70 and a half. You want to take that money from your IRA up to $100,000 this year, increase for inflation starting next year, up to $100,000 per individual. You can send that directly to a charity, and that charity has the benefit of your funds. You have the benefit of never paying tax on that money that comes out of your IRA. That all must be done by 12/31. If you miss that deadline, it doesn't count. And the IRS won't allow you to do it for 2023. So charitable contributions must be done, whether directly or through QCD, by the end of the year. Tax withholding. This is one that we get asked about because we know that estimated taxes. So if you do a Roth conversion, for example, in this quarter, you've done it in today. It's 12/12/2023 today. You've just completed a Roth conversion for the year. Well, you don't have to pay tax on that until your estimated tax period. If you're paying it out of your taxable account or your bank accounts or something like that, you pay it with your estimated taxes. That's when it's due. In most cases, by that estimated tax due date, which is typically January 15th, unless that falls on a holiday or a weekend. So I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is in 2024, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So you've got to make that estimated tax payment by January 15th, unless it falls on a weekend or a holiday in 2024. The tax withholding is different. So if instead of writing that check for your taxes out of your checking account or a distribution out of your taxable account, and you say, all right, well, I'm gonna convert $100,000 in my Roth or my traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. I'm going to convert $100,000 from my traditional IRA to my Roth IRA, but I'm going to withhold, let's just say 20% in taxes, and send that directly to the IRS out of that transaction. So I'm going to withhold that money from the transfer, from the conversion, and send it directly to the IRS. Not unlike what happens with your paycheck. When you get your paycheck, you get $1,000, pay your percentage. Let's just use 20, goes to the IRS. So, $1,000, $200 goes to the IRS, $800 goes to your checking account. Same thing. In this example, if you're withholding funds, we did $100,000. Then $20,000 would go to the IRS in the form of tax. $80,000 would end up in your Roth IRA. That's withholding. I hope that makes sense. If it's unclear, you can say, can you draw that out? But I think that explanation was pretty clear. That must be done by the end of the year. You cannot do tax withholding for previous years. So you can't say in January, hey, do a distribution out of my IRA for $20,000 for that conversion of $100,000 I did in 2023 and apply it to that conversion. It can't be done. The tax withholding actually is one of the benefits of tax withholding is it's considered to be done throughout the year. So even if you did, a conversion in previous months prior to the fourth quarter, and you did tax withholding, it was considered. That withholding was considered to be done throughout the year. That's good, but you cannot do tax withholding for prior years. Let's just keep it as simple as that. So those are the must-dos, right? So these right here are, so we got RMDs, tax loss harvesting, Roth conversions, retirement plan contributions, charitable contributions, including QCDs, qualified charitable distributions, and tax withholding. All these are must-dos by the end of the year. Must-dos. If you're going to do them, you got to do them by the end of the year for them to count for the year. Now, again, I'm sure there's things on here. I looked at, the research I did was kind of our own checklist, but then I went on to, the web, the websites, and I looked at the CPA groups, year-end checklists. And so I looked to make sure, and I asked the experts in my office, like Jess, what else am I missing here? And Jess actually said, "Hey, how about tax withholding?" And I did a head slap. Of course, tax withholding. Jeez. So thank you again, Jess. I'm going to write Jess here. Jess. And then these are the you should do. So we know the must do's. Here are your should do's. Should do's. Do. That's a do. Should do's. Review your plan. Review your plan, or have a plan to review your plan. But hey, take this opportunity to, all right, it's the end of the year. Let's just take a look at my plan. What's my plan? How are things unfolding? If you don't already have it scheduled, if you're a client of ours or you work with another financial planner for some unknown reason, make sure you're scheduled to review that plan at least in the 2024. So, you should make sure when your scheduled meetings are, have an idea of when that is at least, and take a look at that plan. You should also review your investments. I believe that you should be looking at your statements every month or logging in at least every month. When financial advisors, stockbrokers, financial planners, whatever you want to call folks, say, especially when the markets are down, just don't look at your statements. That's really, really horrible advice. That goes back to Bad Santa and the Grinch. Really, really horrible advice. I understand what they're saying, psychologically, don't let these downs get you. But this is when you should be paying attention and making sure that things are set up the way they should be set up. Because, folks, I'm here to tell you that most financial advisors, they set your investments and they kind of forget it. And that's really unfortunate. There may be automatic rebalancing in place and things like that, but not everybody. There are very good financial advisors out there, especially on the growth side. But I've just seen it in many, many circumstances where we get statements in and these things were built many, many years ago and never changed. And that shouldn't be the case. But you should be checking your statement. Remember, you're ultimately responsible. Check your statements. Make sure that you understand at least, you don't have to understand every little detail of every investment. That's really not reasonable to expect that. But you should understand strategy. And if your values are down in any account or overall, you should just understand why. Doesn't mean, I will never say to clients that accounts are never going to be down. Of course that happens. Or individual investments are not going to be down, but there should be an understanding of why that is. So review your plan, check your statements, check your beneficiary designations. Never, never, never a bad time to do that. Check your beneficiary designations. Make sure they're in line with what you want. Don't wait for a tragedy to happen where we don't have a beneficiary designation, everything flows to the estate, or the wrong person is named. In that example I gave, you folks just watching at Financial 15, there was an example in one of our slot reports. You should go back and watch the weekly webinar about this, but a person didn't name beneficiaries of IRA. So his estate was named as the IRA, and the one of the beneficiaries was the estate beneficiaries was saying, can we pass this to a charity? And there were a lot of complications with that because there was no named beneficiaries. What could have happened and what should have happened is that individual should have named beneficiaries, of course. And then those beneficiaries over 70 and a half could have made a qualified charitable distribution of up to $100,000 to that charity that they wanted to fund for their lost sibling. Or that person could have named a beneficiary as brother or sister as they list it, and then named a contingent beneficiary of the charity. So in that case, if brother or sister passed before the individual who ended up passing, it would flow directly to the charity. Or if the person who wrote this letter to the slot group would have inherited that money, they could have disclaimed it and said, I don't want it. It passes to the next person, and it would end up to the charity. Very, very simple. Excuse me. So that would have been very, very simple. Some really simple estate planning that would have made things much easier. So check your beneficiary designations, review your plan, your estate plan, your investment plan, your financial plan as a whole. If you don't have time to review it, make sure that's scheduled for 2024, and set some goals. This is important. Set goals. Set goals for what you want to achieve in 2024 and beyond, and you're much more likely to achieve them. And we all know that. Here we are. It is 10:59. This is the end of our hour. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was enjoyable. What we just went over was we went over some headlines. The Consumer Price Index was the big headline of today, and I read to you some of the Consumer Price Index BLS report. We We went over some analyst reports and talked about what occurred in the market last week as far as returns and some of the movement. We went over some questions and a report from the Slack group. Excellent IRA distribution resource for us. That's the Ed Slott Lead Advisor Group. I'm fortunate to be part of the Master Lead Advisor Group, and I sit on Ed's advisory board right now. And then we went over your Financial 15, and that is your year-end checklist. So I hope that checklist was helpful. That's our checklist. I wanted to share it with you. You should have your own checklist. If you have anything different on that checklist, your financial checklist, I'd like to hear about it. And you can reach out to us with that information to questions@attleborowealth.com. That's questions@attleborowealth.com. If you want to schedule time with us, if you're not already a client, you can reach out to us for a 15-minute discovery call to questions@attleborowealth.com. That's just questions@attleborowealth.com for that 15-minute discovery call. If you're a client and you need to see us, you can call us anytime and schedule an appointment, or reach out to us and schedule an appointment. Just for clients, I want to remind you that our office is closed from December 25th until I think it's December 29th, that week between the Christmas and New Year holiday. So if you need something done in that time, be sure to reach out to us like as soon as possible. But it was a pleasure talking to you today. Have a great week. Reach out to us with any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.